And here is the weather forecast for the week of October 16th. It is Sunday, and the moon is in Cancer, driving the next 2 days with a focus on emotional, family, and home security. On Monday afternoon, some people's sensitive feelings may clash with others who are more concerned with the appearance of everyone getting along. And this is one potential reflection of Monday's third quarter moon between the relationship-focused Libra sun and the feeling-focused Cancer moon. But by Monday night and into Tuesday, chances are that ruffled feathers will be smoothed out, and what we then might see is a demonstration of those willing to not only walk their talk, but to put their money where their mouth is. And I'm saying that because this week begins with the energy of action and assertion, Mars in harmony with the Sun and Venus, leaders, money, values, and women. It's not a bad time to make a creative pitch, and especially on Tuesday, when the moon will be in Leo, focused on finding ways to shine and helping others shine too. A day driven by moon in Leo supports a playful spirit and drama kings and queens. Pay someone a compliment and they just might pay you back. Tuesday has an easier fiery flow than Wednesday. And I say this because the Leo moon encounters a few speed bumps mid-morning on Wednesday. Also, the Sun and Venus are in a tense relationship with Pluto, which in the language of astrology refers to power and resources, oil, coal, and nuclear, and also power plays, sometimes in the extreme. So watch the headlines. And if your unique horoscope is affected by these Sun, Venus, Pluto patterns, you may experience this in your relationships, which may have greater depth and intensity this week. By Thursday afternoon, the moon will be in Virgo, facilitating the use of discerning insight to put everything back in order in exacting detail. Patterns over the weekend are intriguing. On Saturday, the Sun and Venus will come together at the very end of Libra, suggesting a critical mass or a crisis point in diplomacy and balance in relationship. This may result in powerful seeds being planted for a new cycle, communicated with compelling, sobering authority, which reflects a trine, a harmony between Mercury, how we need to think, and Saturn. And speaking of Saturn, it's now Saturn's turn to command our attention as it becomes the third planet to change direction in October. First, we had Mercury, which turned direct, then Pluto, which turned direct, and now Saturn. So what that means is, from our perspective on planet Earth, Saturn has been appearing to move backwards in the sky since June 4th, reflecting here on Earth in the slowing of progress of certain ambitious advances. But on Sunday morning, Saturn turns direct and gradually moves forward again, and so should the ambitious advances that were slowed this summer. Saturn refers to authority, structure, responsibilities, and controls. And these themes are likely to be blaring like a car horn now and all week. So, for example, this is from the Washington Post, and authority and control is a big Saturn keyword. So leaders of democracy increasingly echo Putin in authoritarian tilt. And in China, China's leader strikes a defiant note, warning of stormy seas, okay, but down here from the New York Times extending his authoritarian rule over the country. And China, what's going on in China right now is a fantastic reflection of this week's planetary patterns. And President Xi's own personal horoscope is under a uniquely expansive period in his development. So at the end of this week, at the 20th Communist Party Congress in Beijing, it is expected that he will be declared the party leader, expanding his control over the country for another 5 years. Again, an amazing example of the potential suggested in the week's planetary patterns. Now, if you haven't checked out the written forecast that's on my website, please do. I started writing about the news over a decade ago, and the original conceit was to see if an understanding of planetary cycles could be used to anticipate what we'd see in the paper of record, which is the New York Times. And it turns out it can. So this is the New York Times Magazine, for example. One of the fun things that I've discovered in the years of tracking the astonishing synchronicity of planetary patterns in the news, this magazine is probably planned weeks in advance. But very often, I will look at the headlines and the photos and the stories that are published at the time. You know, when this thing is published on Sunday, it arrives at, well, it came on Saturday. It's a reflection of the planetary patterns for that week. So last week, I told you about Mars square Neptune, surreal fog, being pierced by the reality of a harmony between Venus and the Sun, women and leaders, and Saturn. Saturn is reality. And this cover is, this is Kate Blanchett. So we have a woman here, a very powerful woman of authority on the cover. This is the culture issue, all right? So, okay, they could say all kinds of things about the culture, but wait till you see what they say. This photograph, her image is blurry. It's actually blurrier when you look at it in real life than when you see it on this image. But look at the dark colors, the harshness, it's somber. This is very Saturn. So we've got this blurry Mars Neptune with Venus Saturn, the harshness. And then you look at the table of contents, you know, action figure is the first one. Action figure, that's Mars, the hero. And it's talking about how action figures are used as propaganda, which is Neptune. So there's a reality check, Saturn, on this Mars-Neptune thing. We've got a medical story here. It's about a case involving a young athlete, a woman, but athlete is Mars, and she suffered a concussion. Mars rules the head. And the symptoms were dizziness and confusion, which is Neptune. So we get to figure out, you know, what's wrong with her. The ethicist, that's a weekly column. The question is, what should you do if you think your stepson is actually a neighbor's biological child? Neptune, things are not as they seem. Letter of recommendation. This is a TV show, a cartoon show called Pingu. It's been around for a while. And the log line here is, this children's show teaches everyone, even adults, to embrace the meaning, there's got to be meaning in there somewhere, in a made-up language. Made-up language. Mars is in Gemini, which is language, but Neptune is make-believe. Even the recipe this week, it's a butternut squash and lasagna pie, and the caption for it is, an autumnal pasta dish becomes a seasonal reverie. Reverie is a daydream. A daydream. That's so Neptune. And then the bulk of the articles here about the culture issue, Vanishing Act about Kate Blanchett. Vanishing is Neptune. Divine comedy. Divine, this is Neptune, the spiritual. Secrets and Lies on page 50. Well, that's pretty Neptune, making it all up as we go along. And then 54, on page 54, role play about people pretending to be somebody they're not. I don't know how the New York Times does it, but astrology is amazing. And that's the weather forecast for the week of October. What week is it? 16th. And I'm your weather gal, Elisabeth Grace. Back to you in the studio, Allison.